What's happening, guys? Supernova here, back with another video. And before I get into it, I just want to say, if you like the animation that I used in my intro, I will link to that YouTube page in the description. The video is actually pretty cool and breaks down multiple encounters between Spider-Man and Batman and comes up with verdicts on who would win based on what suits they're wearing and what capabilities they have and so on and so forth. The dude's got over 400,000 subs and has tons of videos just like the one I used in my intro. So again, if you want to go check that out, I will link to that in the description. Now, with that being said, let's get into this video. Now, this should be a pretty short video, and this video, like many on my channel, has been inspired by things I've seen people saying in the comments of other videos. The comments that inspired this video came from the video about Xbox possibly acquiring WB Games. Because you see, I mentioned in that video that the Marvel's Spider-Man franchise on PlayStation is far more popular than the Batman Arkham franchise is. And I said that because Batman Arkham City used to be the best-selling superhero game of all time. But in less than 1 year, Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 outsold Batman Arkham City and took the crown as the best-selling superhero game of all time. Keep in mind that Marvel Spider-Man did this in less than 1 year and only on PlayStation 4. At this point in time, Batman Arkham City had been on sale for 8 years and was available on PS3, 360, PS4, and Xbox One. So in order for Marvel Spider-Man to outsell it in less than a year means that that franchise is far more popular than the Arkham franchise is. Also keep in mind that both Arkham Origins and Arkham Knight, games that came out after Arkham City, were not able to sell as many copies as Arkham City did. Arkham City was the peak of that franchise's popularity and was bested by Spider-Man in less than a year. Now, when I made those comments, I definitely ruffled some feathers. And I don't know if it's Xbox fanboys or Batman fanboys, or both. But I started seeing things in the comments that were just ridiculous and unrealistic. For example, people saying that you didn't understand an Xbox exclusive Batman game would destroy a PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game. It would destroy it and outsell it. Okay, let's break this down. First, let's say we're just talking about consoles. We're not including PC in this conversation. We're just talking about consoles. Xbox has half the install base that PlayStation does. So the likelihood of you selling an Xbox exclusive Batman game and having it sell more than a PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game is very unlikely. Especially because, as I demonstrated, the Spider-Man franchise is much more popular than that Batman franchise. But, to be fair, there have been Spider-Man games on both platforms that didn't sell well at all. It happens to be specifically this Spider-Man franchise that is more popular. So, theoretically, they could reboot Batman and create a far more popular Batman franchise than exists now. But even then, with half the install base, the likelihood of having an Xbox exclusive Batman game, even if it's a newer, more popular Batman game, outsell, let's say, Spider-Man 2, the sequel to the current Spider-Man game, on PlayStation, is still very unlikely. But that's just talking consoles. Now, let's include PC in the conversation. Because as we all know, anything that's exclusive to Xbox also is on PC. Now, in this instance, the install base or user base of combined PC and Xbox is much, much larger than the install base of just PlayStation. And even in this instance, a Batman game exclusive to Xbox and PC could not beat or outsell a Spider-Man game on PlayStation because of one little thing called Game Pass. Because of Game Pass, it's impossible to have a game that is on Xbox that will outsell anything on PlayStation. Because on PlayStation, they actually count and can count the number of copies of games sold, whether physically or digitally. They know exactly how many copies of a game were sold. You can't do that on Xbox because of Game Pass. That's why Xbox doesn't give us the numbers of games sold anymore, because they can't tell you how many copies of the game were sold. So as it sits right now, the only way a superhero game can outsell Marvel Spider-Man and take the crown as the new best-selling superhero game of all time is if it's another superhero game on PlayStation. That's the only way, because PlayStation counts all the games sold. Xbox cannot do the same. That's one of the reasons I don't like Game Pass. Like, I love Game Pass as a value to the consumer, because it is an extremely good value to the consumer. But for developers, I think it's terrible for developers, because it robs them of the ability to celebrate copies sold. Think about it. When Horizon Zero Dawn, Uncharted 4, and God of War were able to sell 3 million copies within the first week, they were able to celebrate that. When they all reached 10 million, they were able to celebrate that. When Spider-Man sold 3 million copies in the first 3 days, they were able to celebrate that. When they hit 13 million copies, they were able to celebrate that. When is the last time you heard a game on Xbox celebrate hitting a milestone of copies sold? You haven't, because they can't. So to you Xbox fanboys and Batman fanboys, no matter how bad you want it, an Xbox exclusive Batman game will never be able to beat or outsell a PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game. The only way a Batman game could possibly beat or outsell a PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game is if that Batman game was also on PlayStation. Period. Well, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys on the next Supernova.